All right, what's up, everybody? What's up, ICE community, PTO on ICE community? My name is Mike Eisenhardt. I am the lead faculty for the AP-HPT division and the CERT course, as well as the intro course. And today is not Monday, at least it's not while I'm recording it. It's actually Sunday evening. I'm recording tonight because unfortunately I will be in the middle of a lecture tomorrow morning at DeSales University at their DPT program. Thanks to Sean a couple of years ago inviting me out there, and it's been a fun thing continued on since then. But I did want to make sure I got in front of everybody because I feel like there's just a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about Arrive, Deprive, Survive, and Thrive today, a four-step formula for what I think is kind of top-level success, and tell you a little bit about this week, this past week, and kind of why I choose those terms. Before I do, let me get the clock started so I don't get too off track, and we'll go from there. So officially, this past week, kind of rolling into this week, has been absolutely crazy. I mean, it's been long. For me, it was kind of like the coming together of a couple of really key things in my life, things that I've been doing for the last couple of years. And it just so happened this year that they all sort of fell one right after another. And so, the first part of it, of course, is that, January is a very busy time. When you are in the human achievement business, when you're working with companies and with individuals to sort of live the best version of themselves, there's just a lot goes on this time of year. And so we're always sprinting, just kind of getting ready for Q1 and making new work plans and just kind of getting everything going. So there's been some of that. The second thing, of course, is that CSM, Combined Sections Meeting, which I attended this past week, is a busy time for me as a member of the National Nominating Committee. We run around and do a lot of meetings and sitting down with people and really getting a lot done because there's so many people all in one place. And so there was quite a bit of movement, not a ton of exercise, but quite a bit of movement. And so that's sort of a piece of it. And then every year for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been doing this this kind of like this off-the-grid experience with a bunch of men, maybe 20 or 30 men that we get together with each year and just spend some time, kind of doing some soul-searching in a way, in some cases literally. And so that rolled right in for me. After I left CSM, I essentially went and got that going, and then last night was the first night in a while I've been in my own bed sleeping. And so all of those things kind of came together. And so the interesting thing about when stuff like this happens is that you have kind of a unique opportunity to learn from it. So these 4 steps are what I think sort of happened for me. And I just thought I would tell you a little bit about them because I really think there's something there. There's some richness. So to start with, Arrive. Right? So Arrive is this concept, and I've mentioned it before, and I won't go into it in too much depth, but of just being there, of being present, of showing up, sometimes even getting out, on a limb a little bit, out of your comfort zone, and just not really knowing where it's going to all take you. Not having everything in life planned out, but still showing up because you think there might be something there. So this past week, I definitely got a lot of that. But one of the two really of things that I wanted to mention was first Thursday night, a little dinner for intellectuals. I'll tell you a little story about that. So I put out kind of a text to some various folks, about a dozen or so folks, people who hadn't really even met each other in many cases. Quite a few people who didn't know each other or maybe had seen each other on social media but didn't really know each other. And I asked them to join me for dinner. And we all got around the table, and the topic of dinner conversation, as I kind of laid it out there, was where does masculinity fit? Which is a thorny issue and a hard issue. And it just happens to be one that's in the news right now a lot. And, obviously with the various commercials, and you can have lots of different takes on that. But I really wanted to explore that, with colleagues who are good thinkers and, kind of interested in this stuff. So we all got around the table and we had a really nice conversation. But what was really cool for me was that seeing the people and the courage they have to show up. Of not knowing who was there. One person, in fact, made a comment to me, said, hey, it was really weird. Like, I wasn't sure what I was getting into because I got this text and, and a whole bunch of numbers that I didn't know. They didn't show up and say, hey, I know that's going to be there and that's this person's always there. But it was like they had to arrive. And it wound up being a really good conversation. And I think probably some growth for all of us because we have to genuinely explore each other's thoughts and each other's context and really do it in a way that was non-judgmental and non-threatening. And every one of us is gonna grow, I think, because of that, if you're willing to arrive and to submit yourself. And I got a lot of really nice compliments and comments. Hey, this was really good. Thanks so much for doing it. I hope we'll do something like this again. The next one was the next morning, bright and early. It turned out to be, unfortunately, a little bit too late of a night. CSM is like that sometimes. Too much rich food, too much drinking, lots and lots of movement with not a lot of exercise, not so much sleep, and unfortunately, a lot of kind of go thinking. And so that really can drain you. So the next morning, bright and early, in a very convoluted way that I don't have enough time to talk about, I finally made it to the Lincoln Memorial to participate in the APHPT's Climb DC, which was an awesome, just an amazing effort. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But when I got there, there were two other people there already. They had beat me there and busted my chops a little bit because I was running late. But Rebecca and Kit were there. And so we got to climb the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and just kind of be there. And that was really Rebecca. I was there and I'm going 100 miles an hour because I'd already sort of gotten there late and I'm ready to roll. And she says to me, "Hey, Mike, like you're here. Like, just stop for a second. Take it in. It's dark outside. There's no one else here. This is a place that's usually swamped with people. You can't get near the place. And it's completely ours. Like, get up there and take it in a little bit." And I did. And it was awesome. And she pointed out the spot, I never even knew this was here, where it's engraved. I had said last week about, sort of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech on those steps. And she said, "Hey, look at that, right there." And it says, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. And take it in. Look out there. Like, imagine that. Imagine the stress of that. Like, I don't get that if I don't arrive. And I don't get that if she doesn't arrive. And there's no doubt that we both grow from that. And it was amazing. It was like I kind of had to pause and like check myself a little bit because I was letting life go so quick that I hadn't really been willing to take it in. But once I did, amazing. So that's arrive. And I feel like if we do more of that in our lives, if we're just willing to just show up, be there, and be there 100%, amazing stuff can happen. The next one is deprive, which sounds terrible, but the truth of the matter is it's really part of the richness of life. To a certain extent, I have to give a little bit of a hat tip to my partner in Tennessee, Zach Morgan, who has said this in the past. I don't know all the forums he said it in, but I heard him once say it first, saying, "Look, like in our world, like we just don't do enough hard things anymore. We just don't push ourselves, physically as hard. Like we need that. We need to stress our systems. We need to sacrifice a little bit." That idea of deprive. And that's exactly right. And I saw that. I really saw that this past week with the folks from the leadership team from the APHPT. Right? So the APHPT, is formally led by Allie, but she's got this great team, Perry and Sarah and Mark and Alan, and they come around and they put like this amazing Climb DC effort together. And I'm lucky enough that I'm still sort of on the edge there of not formally in a leadership position anymore, but being able to sort of take a lot of what they're talking about and take it in because I'm near enough to it. And so here they deprive themselves, right? Like they show up early. They travel to Washington, D.C., essentially on their own dime because they found an organization that could benefit, a bunch of underserved kids who could benefit, and a great opportunity to sort of show what movement can really do and what it can really be about. But the bottom line is none of that happens without depriving themselves, without sacrificing their time, their energy, their effort, and their money, quite honestly, to show up and do something that quite, frankly, was amazing. To be walking those steps and to see the smiles on people's faces, as we congratulated them and high-fived them for doing something good. Congratulations, you're doing something amazing. You're setting an amazing example for your kids. You're out, you're moving, you're being active. That can prevent and reverse disease. Everyone should be talking about that. There were thousands of physical therapists in Washington, D.C., and there were about 10 or 12, I would say, who really were willing to say, "Hey, I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit more so that I can really spread this word and do something really good." Now, they weren't the only ones. There were some other initiatives going on, some really, really good things, and I certainly don't want to take it away from anybody. But I just want to point out the fact that like that occurs. And when it occurs, what you get in return is amazing. It was so cool to be on the text string and watch them talking about this and, like the various things that happen. Being in a subway station, like literally in a subway station, asking people, "Hey, would you be willing to take the stairs today?" And people like, "Yeah, totally," or like, "Yeah, I always do," and giving high fives. It's like so cool. That's our people. That's therapists. That's conservative care professionals taking what really needs to be said to the streets, literally going where the people are, and talking about it. And like, I couldn't be more proud to be associated with people like that. But they have to deprive themselves first to pull it off. And I think you have to stop and realize that. If you want to, get like the word on that, go to their Twitter account at the APHPT, THEAPHPT. Right, check it out. You can still throw a little money their way. Throw some funds to these kids who have some needs. Be a cool thing to do. But either way, even if you don't, look for the next one, because there'll be another next opportunity. It may not be at CSM, could be anywhere, but there'll be a next one. The next one is survive, right? So the third step, the third piece of our formula, survive. Get through it. Endure, as I often like to call it, right? Like, survive it. Like, get beyond, yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Push into the unknown, but still come out the other side. Survive it. And this week, I think that for me, the hat tip has to go to Aaron Perez and Pat McSweeney. So they, decided they were going to throw themselves in, put their hat in the ring, and join this group of 30 men, that are going to sleep on military-style cots and eat crappy food and drink too much and be up too late and literally, try to go into the depths of our souls a little bit, to explore some pretty heavy and sometimes very emotional topics, but the idea of coming out the other side, growing a little bit as a result of it. And they did. And these are amazing people. I mean, like, I walked away going like, man, these guys, I knew they were good guys, but like, I mean, just top notch now, like, in my opinion, like a whole nother level. Because if you're willing to put yourself there sight unseen to arrive in that environment and then get out the other side and survive it, you grow. And when we grow, we can do great things. And I fully expect those guys will do great things because they have that attitude. There's just something there, like that idea of willingness to explore. Doing so in an incredibly intimate and sometimes even unnerving scenario, to be pushed, maybe physically, maybe mentally, maybe emotionally, but to be pushed and then get through it and come out the other side, that is an absolute critical component as far as if we want to succeed, if we want to change things. Let's be honest, we are swimming way into the current when we are trying to swim upstream. We are working hard to get somewhere, and you have to get to the other side if we're actually going to see change. And that's that survival idea that you can't break me, that I can endure, and that is an amazing thing. If you want a little taste of that, I would tell you check out Rising Tide. This year we're going to get that a little bit in New Hampshire. It's on the ICE website. You can find it, register. It's going to be an amazing experience. It'll be a little different than what we just went through, kind of off the grid. But without a doubt, it's closer to that. Off the grid, spend some time with people who you want to be with, who can push you, who can get you where you want to go, and go to that next place. All right, last one as I wrap up in my last few minutes here, my last couple of minutes, that is thrive. For me, I'm lucky enough to say that's what I get out of this. What do I fully expect to happen? Having given up some time. I mean, if you get through it, right? So back to my own piece of survive. I won't go into the rabbit hole too much, but let's just say I keep a close eye on my HRV data. We hear Alan talk about that a lot. Like what are the changes biologically when you're in a stressed scenario? It's sort of like load management idea, but biologically load management. Those few days weren't so good. It's pretty fair to say that if you looked at my data, I shared it with some of the folks on my team. It was, appalling. That would be sort of like the categorization I would give it. It was appalling. It was probably the most spent I've been in a very long time. And hoofing it up and down those stairs after lots of bad inputs didn't help. I actually woke up this morning for the first time, slept in my own bed in a while, 11 hours. I went to bed, slept for 11 hours straight. I woke up, I felt like I was hungover. I wasn't, it wasn't that was the case, but man, did I feel that way. Because when you're fully drained, but you get to the other side, you get to feel that survive. I feel pretty good now. It took me most of the day. But now the idea is because of that, because you're willing to pay the price to do that, because you're willing to, arrive, deprive, and survive, you therefore will thrive. And I think that's really, really awesome. You get to feed off an energy. And for me, I fully expect that I can feed off that energy. And the energy, for example, that I'm getting from this intro cohort, right? Like the product that they're putting out is like, it feeds you. We feed each other that way. We can thrive because the energy that we are able to sort of push forward with is like another whole level. And when you have that in your life, you can do some pretty amazing things. And that's what I think, I get from doing that stuff. People often ask me, they'll say like, what do you do? Like, this is crazy, all this silly stuff you do. And I said, but it's not. It's not crazy because that's how we're going to make a change. Like we talk about population health and we want to put, sort of science and biological terms on it. But what are we really doing? We're engaging people, we're connecting people, and we're giving them the control back to their own life. And most of us need the connection that comes with community. We need our own team, our leadership team like the APHPT, and that we need the shared experience. We need to slog through the effort and deprive ourselves and make some sacrifices. We need to be pushed because when we do that, we know this, right? Like this is the anti-fragile nature of the human, that if we survive, we will come out the other side stronger. So I'm going to leave it there. I mean, I guess the whole thing today, tonight, tomorrow when you're watching this, the whole thing is a thank you, a sincere thank you, and a hat tip to the people who are doing this. Because when you're doing this, you are setting an amazing example for the next group, for the next generation, for the people in your life, for the people outside of the world of conservative care, your family, your friends, the people who get to know you. We're all doing that, and we're going to continue doing that. Oh, there's the bell. We're going to continue doing that because we know it's worth it, because we know in the end people will thrive. So I'm going to leave it there. It is, when you're watching this, it's Monday. It is only Monday. I hope you'll consider joining this little band, this growing band of crazies. Whether you join it by becoming a member of the APHPT, whether you join it by jumping in next week in the CERT course. The next round of the CERT course is starting up. Whether you jump in, you're brand new to this, you're jumping in the intro course. That'll be here before you know it. The next group, the intro course will be here before you know it. Whether you're doing that or you're just simply following along and listening until the time is right for you, understand that it can be done. We saw it this week. It was an amazing thing. We saw it this week. I got to see it in lots of different places. But it can be done. It's only Monday. It's only Monday. Make it count.